Alright, we're going to take a look at standard form here, and basically the whole idea behind looking at standard form, or what we want to do with it, is be able to take an equation that's in standard form and put it in slope-intercept form. That way we can find the slope and the y-intercept of our equation, and we could use that then to graph or do some other things with the equation. Here are two examples of equations that are in standard form. Let's see, why am I not writing here? Let's pause this and see what happens. Will this pause? Alright, let's try this. Alright, I think we have it fixed. So here are two equations that are in standard form. Here's the first one, 6x minus 7y equals 10. You'll see the standard form there. The letter A, the big letter A, is what the 6 would be. The B would be the negative 7, and the C would be the 10. Alright, so what you need to know is that x and y are going to be on the same side, and a plain old number is going to be on the right side if you have standard form. This is another example right here of standard form. You have an x, a y, and a number. What you need to know, though, most importantly, is that we're going to convert from standard form to slope-intercept form so that we can find the slope, that's an S, and the y-intercept of an equation. So that's the reason that, or that's what we're going to be working on right now. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide here where we have a couple problems. So what we want to do is take this equation, 4x plus 2y equals negative 8. We want to put it in slope-intercept form, and then we want to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So I'm going to write this equation down again so that I can go ahead and modify it a little bit or move some terms around. And there are basically two steps that you have to go through whenever you're writing an equation in slope-intercept form. The first step is you always take the x term, in this case 4x, and you're going to move it right in front of the equal sign. And when you do that, if we cut the equation in half, you're going to be left with the y term staying put. You're going to have the equal sign coming straight down. The 4x in this case that we're moving, whenever you move it to the other side, you have to change the sign. So we're going to change it to a negative 4x. And then the minus 8 is going to come down, and we're going to have this. Okay, so that's the first step. Move the 4x, or whatever is with the x, over to the other side of the equation and change the sign. The second step is to divide by the number that's in front of the y. So in this case 2. Everything gets divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2, that cancels out. That's always going to happen. And we're left with the y by itself, which is what we want. We have negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. We'll put an x with it. And negative 8 divided by 2, which is negative 4. So now we have slope-intercept form, which is what we wanted. So we answer our two questions up here. What's the slope? Well, that's the number in front of the x, negative 2. And what's the y-intercept? That's the other number, negative 4. We cannot get that information from the equation in standard form right here. We have to put it in slope-intercept form before we can get the slope and the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and do another problem here. Write it down again. Okay, so we want to take the 3x, stick it right there in front of the negative x, and if you want to, you can, or the negative 6. If you want to, you can cut the equation in half. Alright, so let's see here. We'll use orange. We're going to keep the negative 2y and the equal sign. They come straight down. 3x becomes negative when I move it over. It changes signs, and the minus 6 comes down. And then our second step is to divide by negative 2 because it's in front of the y. It's being multiplied, so we have to divide. And that should leave us with y equal to, alright, Well, what's a negative over a negative? That's a positive 3 over 2x. We can't reduce 3 over 2, so we leave it like that. And we have a negative over a negative again, which is a positive. In this case, we can make that 3. So our slope is 3 over 2. It's in front of the x. And our y-intercept is 3 because it's our other number that we have. Alright, let's do a third problem here. Remember, if you can always pause these if you want to pause them and take a look at a problem more closely. Okay, so I'm going to circle my x, bring it over there. So I have y equals negative x, and I could say plus 0 if I wanted to, but that's not going to do anything for me, so I'm just going to leave it like this. And since there's a 1 in front of the y, I don't even have to do the second step. There's my answer right there. The slope is negative 1. That's this number right here, negative 1. You don't see it, but that's what it is. And the y-intercept is 0. Alright, let's see here. This will be our last problem. Let's see, we'll write the problem down. We'll circle the 4x and move it over. Cut the equation in half. And we get negative y equals negative 4x plus 4. Alright, now this time we do have to do a little bit of work. There's a negative 1 in front of that y, so that's what I'm dividing by. Can't have a negative in front of the y. The negatives cancel each other out, so we're left with y equals negative over a negative is positive, so that's 4x. And a positive divided by a negative is a negative, so it's negative 4. So our slope is 4. Y-intercept is negative 4. Now I skipped the problem a second ago. I'm going to go back to it. Maybe we'll do it. Let's see. Yeah, we will do it. Let's do this problem, letter D. Alright, so we'll write this down here. The reason I want to do it is that it's a negative 5 in front of the x. We haven't seen a negative yet, so let's go ahead and do that problem. Alright, so let's cut it in half. Move this over right there. And we have 3y equals, now since the 5x is being moved and it was negative, I'm going to change it and make it a positive. You always change the sign to the opposite sign. Minus 9. We'll divide by 3. Cancels. We have y equals 5 over 3x minus 3. Slope is 5 over 3, and the y-intercept is negative 3. So there are always two parts to converting from standard to slope-intercept form. Remember, standard form has the x and the y on the same side, usually on the left side. And when you convert to slope-intercept, the first step is to move the term with the x to the right and change its sign. And then the second step is to divide by the number in front of the y. And that will get y by itself, which is what you're trying to do.